EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen. You can give us follows on X at Real Zander and at JF McMullen. It's OTA day, everybody. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Tuesday morning where you are set to head down to the NovaCare complex?
Yeah, Big Fangio Day. So Vic will speak before practice, and that's that should be pretty newsworthy because of all the changes. How he views Jihad Campbell. We'll get to hear it from the horse's mouth. The Bryce Hupp trade, what went wrong. A lot to talk about with Vic Fangio.
Yeah, man, a lot of moving parts on this defensive side of the football. Giant just brought up the Bryce Huff trade. I do want to bring clarity to that. Looks like we learned what the compensation was, Johnny Mac, getting back a conditional 5th-round pick that could become a 4th-round pick. Now, I don't know what the conditions are, but not too bad, I'd say, for the Bryce Huff trade. What do you say?
Yeah, I said 5th-round pick. I think it's going to be a 5th-round pick. We'll see when the contract is filed. My guess is the conditions are going to be tied to playing time more than sacks, but that's just a guess, and that's what we'll see. And if that's the case, you can manipulate it pretty easily. But you get to talk about it. How he likes to get those conditions. Well, it might be a 4th, but my guess is it's going to be stay at 5th, but the Eagles have 13 projected picks, I think, in the draft next year now. So plenty of opportunity, plenty of ammunition to move up and down the board whenever they want. And I start looking at that 2026 draft chest, and when you start thinking about that, and you start to realize, all right, that's what they're waiting for when it comes to, trying to rebuild with cheaper, more cost-effective talent. I think that's the way this is all heading. Understanding you got to pay Jalen Carter. You most likely have to pay Nolan Smith, as we talked about. Down the road, you got to pay Cooper and Quinyon. So I think that draft is going to be very, very important for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to have a lot of picks, John. And as you pointed out, they're getting cheaper. I think it does look like now, obviously when the trade broke, we speculated, is there another move to come? But it does seem like they're kind of just proofing the roster, John, at this point, preparing for what's to come with all those paid contracts upcoming. And do you think they're factoring in the questions at the way the salary cap and the voidable years, the way they can use them? Do you think they're factoring that into their decision-making right now with the way they're doing these contracts and moving people off the books and whatnot?
No, because that's just out in the ether. I mean, they know it's coming, but until collective bargaining is opened, that's not a rule change. I think a lot of people misunderstand that. Right. That's collective bargaining. And that will potentially come when they start jockeying about 18 games. But again, the union's going to fight pretty hard for it and against it. And because their philosophy is voidable years help raise salaries, and there's clear definitive proof that they do. So the union's going to fight very hard against that. So by no means is there any guarantee. Certainly, it's not going to affect the Eagles in the short term at all. And again, you can pivot. You saw how quickly they pivoted off Bryce Hupp. After 1 year, you can pivot pretty quickly when you have to. But for now, their voidable years contracts are all grandfathered in anyway. So I mean, they're going to be part of the situation for a lengthy period of time. Too lengthy when you make a mistake, but when you don't, right, it's a very good thing.
Yeah, I do wonder, John, about it, and I think this is a good off-season topic, maybe not for today on OTA day, but another day, just about the NFL at large, man, and what's going on in the business side of it, how much contracts have exploded and ballooned in the last – I mean, John, it wasn't that long ago we paid Carson Wentz. He was the highest paid guy in the NFL. That was like
Yeah,
30 million or something, man. It feels like that was
I
like
mean,
it's
yeah,
a long time ago. So
you talk about the dead money hit they took for Carson Wentz. I
yeah,
remember talking to Andrew Brandt. Andrew and I were like, they'll never take that. Now it looks quaint. The way that, we talked about voidable contracts in 2013. There were $40 million of voidable contract money around the league total. Now there's 2.2 billion mixed up, and that's how quickly things have exploded. And that's just over a decade, obviously. So, yeah, things move very quickly, and as the money balloons up, everything's a revenue share.
right.
Salaries go up, so part of it is baked in. But
Yeah, but the other side of it, John, is the TV, man. Like there's one entity on the planet that is still growing on traditional cable television, and that's the NFL. Every sports league is down, every other cable show is down. It's like the NFL's going like this and traditional TV's going like this. At what point do they intersect and cross? And
yeah, I
that
mean,
leg is not standing on cement. I would say they got to continue to make the right decisions, and at some point, I don't know, like you got 8 networks now, John, bidding and pushing the number way up. Like, at what point does that end? If it ever ends, I don't know. It feels like it would come to an end at some point, but right now they're in a good spot. But I do wonder about that as a whole.
yeah, I've been talking about it for years and years and years because I don't think people understand. It's pro sports in general. If TV money collapses, the entire industry collapses.
Right.
I mean, the vast majority of money for all these entities, NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, WWE, whatever you want, the vast majority of their revenue comes from TV rights fees. And if they go away, you know, the entire landscape changes. And people have been predicting they can't keep paying this money. They can't keep paying it for years and years. But it keeps going up, and it keeps going up, and it keeps going up. However, Major League Baseball was the first one to take a ding. And ESPN said, you know what? This isn't worth it. We're getting out. Now they're going to have to take a lesser deal somewhere else. So it might happen. Now they're still going to get significant money, Major League, but you see that the start of it. And now, as you pointed out, the NFL is the only product that keeps going up. But you see their panic when it's down 2%. They panic. Oh, we gotta.
Oh yeah, because that can lead to a larger crack in the armor.
Yeah.
Just that 2%. Do you think the introduction and the ramp up of the streaming that they're doing, do you think it's more of a safeguard for that, or do you think it's truly about the growth of the game? It might be a safeguard.
I don't think it's a safeguard as much. It's more has to do with the television industry, which has believed that streaming is the future for many years now. However,
not a safeguard, but maybe like don't put all your eggs in one basket. You know what I mean? Where you're going to get streaming money if the television money does change or go away.
As long as the number remains the same, the name signed in the check doesn't matter. But so it could be, NBC, the traditional networks, Fox, CBS, ABC, or Amazon, Netflix. As long as they're paying the same amount of money, it doesn't matter. But people in TV have been predicting streaming is going to overtake linear television for many years, and it has from a share of viewers. More people watch streaming than watch regular TV now, but the major products that draw major ratings, it doesn't translate yet. And I don't think they can figure it out, to be honest. Because they thought it was going to happen 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And
it's the boomer, John. It's your boomer generation that can't figure out how to flip the apps.
As people my age pass off, maybe it will change, but now it's so fragmented. I don't think it's ever going to reach the level of linear television.
Yeah, no, I don't either. But it is an interesting talking point. Maybe we'll dive into that more one point in the off season. I do want to welcome everybody in here on this Tuesday edition. Hit that like button for us. We've had a great crowd all through the off season. It's OTA day. Johnny Mac's heading down to the NovaCare complex to take in the second and final open OTA to reporters. I believe they will be back out there, John, next Tuesday for their mandatory.
Yeah, mandatory minicamp.
You'll be present at that, right? On the mandatory?
Yes.
Yep, so you'll be there. So a couple more here left in the next couple of weeks. But John, today, walk us through it. Give us the rundown. You said it's Vic Fangio Day. What's the schedule look like for the Birds today?
Vic's going to talk before practice at about noon. Practice is about 12:50, and then the selected players, are going to talk after. I'm sure the big media blitz for Saquon Barkley. I'm sure he's going to be one of them. If Lane Johnson's around, he'll probably be one of them if he's there. Reed Blankenship, if he's there, maybe trying to predict. That part of it stinks. Pre-COVID, we could grab players off the field. Like I want to talk to Marcus Tate. He signed yesterday. Those are the interesting stories to me. But we don't get to do that these days. So we're at the mercy of who they bring to the podium, and it tends to be star players. Certainly Saquon, I would think, would be one of them, although he's probably tired after yesterday. But he's having quite the run, I should say.
Yeah, big Madden cover, 99 club, Johnny Madden. I mean, Saquon's getting all the love, all the accolades.
By the way, the people that saw the Saquon doing the photo shoot with the backwards hurdle for ES, yeah, that he was being lifted up, guys. Yeah. Come on.
Oh, I knew that right away. I was surprised.
It's like he's levitating.
Like he's levitating. I'm like, guys, he's on strings, man. That's what they do in the game. But no, it's still funny, still interesting to watch. Good stuff there for Saquon Barkley. Now heading down to the OTAs today. John, what are you looking to take away from the OTA today, if anything? I know there's not much, but I think the rookies are worth watching. I mean, you just brought up Marcus Tate, man. How many offensive linemen, John, does this football team need? It's unbelievable. But he was a guy that was in there for the tryout or whatever you want to call it with the rookie minicamp, right? Is that where Marcus Tate came from?
Yeah. He was the tryout
but he signed now yesterday. That's a lot of offensive linemen for this team, John.
Yeah. And, you give a bunch to Jeff Stoutland, and you expect that a couple will come out of it and can help you. So just add another one to the list, but had an open spot because of the Hupp trade. And it's always good to reward people, try out players. I've always said that the Eagles like to sign one or two. They signed Giles Jackson earlier because you want to signal, look, it's a meritocracy. If you perform well, we'll reward you. So, it's always good to reward players on the back end of the roster. But 90th man, essentially. Odds are against him. Upside is probably the practice squad, but was a good player at Clemson on a good team. You never know. Maybe something develops down the road.
A lot of offensive linemen. Another one added for Jeff Stoutland. We'll see what they're able to do. Just get one position that you need to fill for the starting role. And then obviously you'll have your backups and your reserve players. But they got a lot of guys in that room. I think some of them are going to have to go. We'll see how that shakes out. But John, going down to OTAs today, what's piquing your interest? For me, it's the rookies. I'm trying to get a better sense on the rookies and who's going to contribute this year. Jahad Campbell's obviously a tough one to put a finger on because just injured. So you don't know when he's going to be back or what it's going to be, but I'm trying to get a gauge on the rookies. What are you, John, as you head down there to talk to Vic and see the second OTA you'll see this summer?
Yeah, well, I think the important thing with Campbell is to listen what Vic says about the player. Because you're not going to get a beat on him from practice until hopefully the summer. And hopefully he can get back at some point during training camp. But I think Makuba is interesting, especially if Reed Blankenship is back, because if Reed is back and participating, then you get a better feel because they were just rotating guys in and out. Everybody got first team snaps because you didn't have Reed there. So it started last week with Sidney Brown and Andrew Makuba together. My assumption is if Reed's there, Sidney will get the first rep. But again, that's not the be all end all. So it'll be interesting to see how much they mix Makuba in as far as that goes. And the other rookies, I mean, I think it's pretty clear where they're going to be because it's a deep and talented team. And the other rookies are all potential backups. You know, Ty Robinson should be the fourth guy on the interior if everything goes to plan. McWilliams, it'll be interesting to see when they pull the trigger on him, if they even do it, and play him inside. They started him outside. Smile Munden's going to be a second team guy pretty much all summer, you know, without Nakobe Dean there. We know that. Drew Kendall's going to be a backup center. We know that. Kyle McCord, when does he start to, you know, rise up over Dorian Thompson-Robinson? Because I think that's going to happen at some point. And then, you know, Antoine Powell-Ryland, I think, is more interesting post Bryce Huff trade than pre-Bryce Huff trade. I think everybody's got a shot, even a 6-rounder. You know, if you can get to the passer, they're gonna be interested in you.
Yeah, and Anton Powell-Ryland certainly could do that at college. He was one of the most talked about picks this year because of that college production. I think he was their last pick, right? Their very last pick of the draft. Yeah. So we'll see. I don't want to put too much stock in him, but I do think you're right. I mean, with that edge rusher room, where it is right now, maybe he's a guy that could make some headway in a day like today. But we will see. John, anything else that you're looking at down there? I know we've talked extensively about the edge rushers, the youngsters on this football team. It's mainly defense. I mean, you know, this whole camp stuff is, what are we watching on the offense, right? I mean, you're bringing back everybody except the right guard.
Yeah, right guard.
I mean,
that's about it. So we'll see more of what Tyler Steen, you know, to me, it looks like it's going to be Tyler Steen versus Kenyon Green. That's the early indications. And if they both falter, then you got Matt Pryor to just break the glass in case of emergency. I think that's the way they're headed. That's the way they're thinking. And I hope as Tyler can seize control of that job. But you know, Kenyon Green's got a lot, as Howie would say, a lot of traits in his body that made him the 15th pick in the draft. But, you know, you got to rebuild him up because he's probably shaken from a confidence standpoint because of how poorly things went in Houston. You know, his PFF grades were just abysmal. I think it was 77 out of 77. 1 year, 47 quarterback pressures, 12 penalties. Yeah, that's a big reclamation project. Well, I know people point to Mekhi Becton and say he was a big he didn't play that poorly.
No,
he was
no. But Jeff Stoutland, I mean, like you just said, though, he is familiar with good traits, you know, with a lot of bad tape, you know. So maybe he can do something with Kenyon Green. I don't know. What's your confidence level on that? Do you think Kenyon Green has a chance to start?
Well, I'm not high on Tyler Steen that much. So I think everybody, you know, for me, if I'm a betting man, I'm going to bet on Matt Pryor.
Yeah.
At some point they say, you know what, we're just gonna put the guy we know that can play. But we'll see how it shakes out. You know, you want to shoot for the stars. And those guys have a bigger upside, Steen and Green. So
why are you down on Steen?
I just don't think he's played that well. And I think he's a natural tackle. I don't think he's comfortable inside. I mean, he played tackle throughout his entire college career, and he was a very good tackle. but his arms were too short from NFL standards. So they projected him inside, and I just don't think he's an inside player. I think he's a tackle. At least he feels like a tackle. And sometimes that's tough to overcome. You know, Mackay overcame it. He was like, yeah, I'll play inside. We know Andre Dillard couldn't move from the left tackle to right tackle. Everybody's different. And I just
good.
I just don't think he's comfortable inside.
Might be right about that. The interesting part about Steen is, he was taken at 65 overall, John, which is the first pick of the third round. Andrew Makubo was taken at 64,
I know.
And everybody's like second round or third round. I'm like,
I know. I
one
say it all
spot
the
away,
time.
man. So that Tyler Steen pick is kind of, I mean, if he doesn't get that starting job this year and at least be somewhat effective, I think that would be a missed pick. Now it's okay. You're not going to hit on every single pick, but that would be one of the few misses that they've had in recent years, especially on the offensive line.
Yeah. He's not a bad player. I'm not trying to say that. He's not Kenyon Green, who's completely faltered. But in his time, it hasn't played that well. And I think a lot of it is what I just said. I think he's more comfortable playing outside. In the few chances he's gotten out there, you can kind of see it. And then, does Jeff Stoutland want the bigger Mekhi Becton like body? It's funny when you talk about 6'5", 6'6", 320-pound people, and you say, do you need a bigger body?
Right.
But, if you go back to Brandon Brooks and, he was 350 at times during his playing weight, big, powerful guy. That's who I'm comparing. And Mekhi, who is obviously can block out the sun and bench press it as well. And Pryor would be closer to that. Not that he would be that, because he doesn't have quite that size, but plus he's got the old man strength from playing in this league for a long time. And he had a good year playing that exact position last year. So a little bit older, obviously not a long-term answer, but the Eagles have had no problem rotating that position.
We'll see what they end up doing there. A lot of question marks at that position, but the only question mark on offense, as we just said, there's not much to look for on the offense other than the natural evolution that the offense takes this year with now Kevin Patullo coming in. John, do you think that's a good, I mean, I do think that's an interesting question, but I've kind of become numb to the changes at offensive coordinator because they're so prominent and they're so consistent on this football team. To me, it's Jalen Hurts. All right. That's our offensive coordinator. There's insert name, but I've become more uninterested in the offensive coordinator because of the way it's developed in the last several years. Am I wrong to do that?
No, I've been talking about it for years. And now the people that are concerned about it, I mean, shouldn't they have been satiated by the fact you can bring somebody from outside the building and win the Super Bowl? So that proves,
right.
I mean, how long have I been screaming it's about execution? It's not about motion. It's not about anything you want. Creativity,
right?
Whatever word, whatever adjective you want to use to describe what you think they need, it's about execution. They're fine when they execute. They're impossible to stop when they execute with their dull, uncreative offense. You saw it, and they won the Super Bowl. So shouldn't that highlight, hey, maybe it is about execution?
Well, it is definitely about execution, but I don't know. This is gonna stir the pot a little bit, this question, but I'll ask it anyway because I do think it's a factor, and I wonder what the inside of the organization thinks about it. Do you think the way that they ran their offense last year was simply because of the success they were having, or do you think it was an indictment on Jalen Hurts because he was ineffective in managing the offense when they weren't so reliant on the run game in the first 4 weeks?
Well, they changed the offense because they weren't happy with the way Jalen was
Right.
playing. I mean, that's self-evident. Anybody who doesn't understand that, I apologize, but that's what happened. And I, at the time, said it was unfair. So, I thought it was completely unfair. But, I mean, it worked. So it's hard to complain about it. And when you have a season like Saquon had, nobody's complaining. But yeah, that's what happened. Sure. I mean, that's what happened. They scaled back the offense because they weren't happy with the way it was going. And they said, yeah, we're going to lean on Saquon and the offensive line. That's what happened. And I don't think they were worried about AJ's performance or Devontae's performance or even Dallas's performance. So do the math.
I just wonder how the league views it. I mean, Kellen Moore walked out of here with a head coach with a head coaching job,
Well, I would say owners are closer to fans than anything else. And if you win a Super Bowl, they want you. That's it. That's it.
This offensive question is interesting. I can't wait to see what they end up doing this year, what they end up trying to do, because I can't get a gauge on whether they're happy with the play of the quarterback because they were so successful doing everything else. And Jalen just is a chameleon and does what he needs to do for the team to win based on whatever given circumstances he's had throughout the first 4 years of starting. Or if they're upset that he can't get A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith involved in the game as much as he would have liked to in those first 4 weeks, that then required them to become a run-first team, which I think was the right move anyway. But that's what makes there's so much gray area with the conversation.
I don't think there's much gray area. They're trying to win games. I always said there's a difference between Howie and Nick. Nick's trying to win games.
But you can you can be a running offense because you don't believe in your quarterback, but you can also be a running offense because you got the best offensive line and the best running back in football. I think it might be a little bit of both, but where does the truth lie between those two things?
Well, the truth lies that they believe the best way to win games was to lean on Saquon Barkley and the offensive line. And the truth, that the success says they were right. The coaching staff. Could they have won the other way? Maybe. They were that talented. That's the question. Could they have won playing the same way they were playing the first 4 weeks? Maybe. Maybe things settle down. Maybe you start playing better football. So that's the unanswered question. But again, when I brought up PFF and ranking the Eagles the best roster in the NFL, they mentioned some of the problems. When they said biggest weakness in 2024, passing game. Much of the burden falls on quarterback Jalen Hurts, who ranked 23rd among qualifiers in passing grade, despite the outstanding final 2 games because they combined the playoffs, everything. He gets credit for that. Still 23rd. The biggest drop-off the biggest issue was the drop-back game non-play action, where he's 27th in the NFL. It's 32 teams. There's 32 starters. So yeah, I unfortunately went down this route. People are burying their heads about it because they won the Super Bowl. Why did they hire Kellen Moore? Because they won the Super Bowl. Again, imagine Kellen Moore's here. If Jalen Carter doesn't save the season, not getting a job unless he wins the Super Bowl. Not even getting an interview with New Orleans. That's how quickly things shift. Brian Johnson has the same offense, number 8 versus number 8. He's out on his ass because the defense was number 31 instead of number 1. Owners are more, not all owners. Jeffrey's among the best, but a lot of them are not the most contextually sound people. So they look at, this team won the Super Bowl. And this is in history, let's go get stuff from them, whether it's players or coaches or executives. Let's go. You've seen it with the Eagles' constant attrition. On the field, off the field, in the executive suite, every part, because they won the Super Bowl.
Do you personally have concerns about Jalen Hurts running this offense coming into this year?
No, they're going to run the same offense. He's proven he's effective in this offense. That's all that matters.
Well, he's been a little bit of a chameleon, don't you agree? I mean, the offense has looked kind of different each year of his starting. I mean, but it's the same, but the intro of what they run between the lines has shifted and has required him to be a different quarterback each year, I think, at least.
I think it's been astonishingly the same, which is what I talked out. They revert back to where they are because they're building the offense.
If Jalen was last year, if he did that in 22, they wouldn't have been in the Super Bowl.
Well, he had a better year in 2022.
Right.
Again, it depends. Yes, he's been a
but
different
I do think
quarterback.
It called on him to be better, right? Like last year after the bye week, they became so run dominant. They weren't even calling on him to step up like he had.
Well, last year it was an extreme. They were very run dominant in 2022 as well, and really 2021. They've been very run dominant since week 7 of the Nick Sirianni era. It just elevated to another level because of the success of Saquon Barkley and the difference between Saquon and Miles Sanders or DeAndre Swift. They had more 200-yard rushing games than any team in the NFL over the 3 seasons of Nick Sirianni's era before Saquon got here. They've always been run heavy because they're building the offense around the quarterback. Kevin Patullo talked about this last week with Tyler Thigpen. You build the offense, and Nick is very proud of this. He talked about his time in Indianapolis and what they went through. Andrew Luck's early retirement, late, and they had to ship the entire offense for Jacoby Brissett, who they didn't really want to be the starter. And then they went out and got Phillip Rivers. So 3 consecutive years, 3 different quarterbacks, 3 different styles, and they built 3 different offenses. You build the offense, at least good coaches, you build the offense around the talent you have. And that starts with the quarterback. And that's what Kevin was talking about last week with Tyler Thigpen when he was with Kansas City. And that's where he learned it from Chan Gailey. He was like, basically came in the next day. Their starting quarterback got hurt. Their backup quarterback got hurt. And they were down to Tyler Thigpen, their 3rd string quarterback. And he came in the next day, erased everything on the whiteboard, had a blank whiteboard and said, we got to revamp this whole offense to take advantage of what this particular player does well. That's what good coaches do. And that's why all the talk, and not to say you can't evolve, they spent all off season trying to evolve with Kellen Moore and bringing in some of Kellen Moore's processes and the motion and the more motion, and which he likes. And you'll see more of it in New Orleans this year because he likes it. And he talked about that last year at his introductory press conference, because I was the one who asked the question.
Right.
He said he talked about his history as a coach and the people that sort of built him and defined him and he learned from, and motion was a big part of it. That's why it's been a big part of his career. But he was a smart enough coach to scale it back, to take advantage of the players he had in Philadelphia. And that's what happened.
So is that simply a circumstantial thing where he relied on Saquon and the offensive line, or is it an indictment on Jalen Hurts? Because you cannot say that they didn't have the weapons to have a successful passing game like Kellen Moore maybe once desired. You can't say that. I mean, they had it. They had A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas guys. They got the best weapons in passing game in all
they
football.
They had all the weapons in the world, but they felt that their best way to win was the way they went, and they were proven correct.
Is that an indictment on the quarterback?
I mean, a little bit, depending on what people look at, because people want if you're obsessed with getting a high volume thrower, you're not going to get that here. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Can it get better? Sure, it can get better. Individual weeks, can it be good? Sure, like the championship game and the Super Bowl. You're also going to have the weeks where it's Carolina, it's, Baltimore, it's Los Angeles, it's Green Bay. You're also going to have those weeks. So, but they're winning games. And to Nick's credit, he talks about with Saquon, but everybody's like, how can you give him the ball that much? 400 touchdowns. Look at the history. He's trying to win a game.
John, last season here on Birds 365, you questioned whether early in the year, whether the team could run their way all the way to the finish line, whether the modern NFL would eventually catch up to them, because most teams thrive on moving the ball through the air. That's the modern game. Do you believe they can win another Super Bowl the way they ran their offense last year, or do you believe evolution and a different look is required to get back to that pinnacle?
Well, that's typical with Howie. I think he zigged when everybody zagged. I thought, and I've been talking about this for a while, I thought it would be Belichick, to be honest, that would wake up one day and say, hey, everybody's throwing out like boxes. Everybody's got 220-pound linebackers. Why don't we get a fullback and just run it down their throats?
Yeah.
And the Eagles didn't do the fullback part of it, but a little bit with Ben Van Sumeren for a small portion. But the Eagles just bullied people. So it's still, from a larger perspective, and the analytics people will tell you, and they're right, it's still long term, it still decreases your margin of error, because I always talk about margin of error, because you have to play a certain way. You have to play with the lead. You have to be a very good team for the most part. If you're down 10 in the fourth quarter, you can't run the ball. So everything has to align. And that's when people like me say, it's probably not likely that's going to happen. But not likely is not can't. It's just not likely. It remains not likely again this year. Doesn't mean can't. But you can argue every team's not likely to win the Super Bowl. So from that standpoint, the Eagles feel for their team and their offensive line and their running back that that's the proper way to go about it. And until somebody stops it, and I'm not talking about stopping Saquon, because look, Saquon's presence is a big reason why the passing game was opened up in Washington. So if you have to spend so many attributes to stop him, and then it becomes just pitch and catch, well, that's part of it as well. But, again, you have to have the lead to play that way. Because if you don't have the lead, you're running back, you're big time bell cow back, whether it's Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. You want to go back to Jim Brown. You want to go back to my guy, Adrian Peterson. Any running back you want to. They're not relevant if you're down 10 or 14 points in the fourth quarter.
Which brings the defense into the conversation, John. The number one defense in the NFL was also one of the reasons they were able to thrive the way they did offensively last year.
Yeah. Look at they had literally the 8th offense in 2023 and the 8th ranked offense in 2024.
Yeah, right. Look at the difference.
I mean,
very different. I mean, not very different, but different styles.
Yeah, they were better balanced in 2023. To be honest.
Yeah, they collapsed at the end, and that obviously tainted everybody's view of it.
Yeah, they collapsed. The defense collapsed. The offense didn't collapse. They had some bad games, just like they had some bad games this year. But their bad games last year, not last year, 2023, were not as bad as their worst games in 2024. In a lot of ways, in a lot of metrics, you can say the 2023 offense was better than the 2024 offense. However, 31st ranked defense, 32nd. I think they were dead last in pass defense, or they were 31st. I think they were 31st in pass defense, like 27th overall, something like that.
Low is the bottom line. They were very low.
They were terrible, especially in the second half, especially after the shift from Sean Desai to Matt Patricia. They were an absolute disaster. This is a complimentary game. The Eagles had the number one defense in the NFL. Their first number one defense since Bud Carson. They made plays almost every week. At the end of the season, Zach Bone was making a play every week. We talked about Jalen Carter in the Rams game. Also, the punches, the turnovers. 9 drives. That is, to me, the statistic of the entire 2024 Super Bowl season. One game of every game they played during last season. Everybody, not just the Eagles, not just the Chiefs, every single NFL game, no offense, went 9 drives without crossing midfield. The Eagles did that to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
It's unbelievable. And here we are talking about all the changes on the defense, and the defense maybe was a bigger part of winning the Super Bowl than the offense, which could present some issues for the 2025 Eagles. No?
Sure. I mean, I find it very hard to believe you can replace Milt Williams, Josh Sweat, Darius Slay, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Isaiah Rodgers, Oren Burks, and not impact you. And then the way guys played, N'Kobe having a career. How many guys had career years? Had their best seasons. Nolan Smith. We're all, the assumption that guys are going to have the same year or get better. Well, I believe that about Jalen Carter, but everybody else, is Zach Bone going to be able to match last year?
It's tough.
He
set a high bar.
Yeah. It's like going out, scoring a 50-point game and saying, all right, go do it again.
It's going to be very interesting to see how this season unfolds. I see a lot of people in the chat. I'll take a couple of comments from you guys. I know this is one of those conversations that gets you riled up, but if you're in there and in the chat and you're crying, you're a grown adult, okay? You can handle a conversation about a football team that doesn't reaffirm everything you think, okay? It's okay. It's all right. It's a conversation about a football team, guys. It's all good. But I do think the conversation is a good one, and I think it does, show the complexity of winning in the NFL and how many different things go into it and how much it can change and how much nuance there is there. But I do think the offense is going to need to be different this year. I do. In my heart, I believe they're going to have to be a more high-powered offense in a multitude of ways next year if they want to have the type of success that they had last year, even if it looks different. I believe that's going to be required. Now, maybe I'm off. Maybe they'll be able to do the same thing and run all over everybody. Their defense will be great, and they'll be able to kind of, manhandle everybody on their way to a Super Bowl. Maybe. I think it's going to require a different version of the offense, and I'm curious to see if they get there or they achieve it. Let's get to some super chats here. Rashid Mixon checks in. What's up, Rashid? Thank you for your 3 supers today. 3 straight from Rashid we got here in the show. Rashid says, everything has context. A.J. Brown played 1 of 4 first games. Passing game looked bad without wide receiver 1 and new coordinators. They switched the way they play. Yeah, as John's talked about extensively, he thought they
talked about it constantly. I thought it was unfair for that exact reason. Thought it was unfair. But it's hard to argue it was unfair because it was tremendously successful now. But at the time, I thought it was completely a complete overreaction and completely unfair, especially coming off the Tampa game, where not only didn't you have AJ, you didn't have Devontae Smith or Lane Johnson. I thought it was a complete overreaction. I thought it was unfair to the quarterback. I hope everybody's listening to that. And They won 16 of 17 games. So I got to give Nick some credit for that.
Yeah. All right. Rashid again follows up. Also, let's stop it like he can't run the offense passing the ball. I seen him passing 2 years straight, 22 and 23. Now he asking, can he run the offense? Well, I mean, I think it's a fair question to pose, Rashid.
I didn't ask, can he run the offense?
Well, I'm asking the question. They changed, Rashid. Did they change the offense after week 4 last year or not? AJ Brown in there or not? Yes, they did. They took the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands. Can they put the ball back in his hands and go and win the Super Bowl? That's a fair question. If you don't think it is, then I got a problem. Then that's your problem. Rashid.
Oh yeah, it's a very fair question, but I have no doubts that it can run the offense. The build-up Eagles offense is what they call it. You know, that's what Kevin said again. That's what Kellen Moore said. It's not my offense; it's build-up Eagles offense.
Yeah,
and what that means is,
AKA, it's Jalen Hurts' offense.
Yeah, they build around, and they should build around the coach. They should build it around the strengths of the quarterback. That's what they should do, and that's what they've done under Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen, Brian Johnson, Kellen Moore, and now Kevin. They'll do it with Kevin Patullo, and it'll look very familiar. And there's a reason for that, because they're building it around the strengths of the quarterback, and that's what they should do.
Rashid follows up again. Rashid, again, thank you for the love, brother. Appreciate it. Injury to AJ in the first game caused the pass game to look crazy. They changed the offense and never got the chance in new offense to show that they can pass. Well, they did at the end of the year. That's certainly a feather in their cap. But, you know, extrapolate that across the course of a full year. It's fair to wonder if they can achieve the consistency needed across a bigger portion of games to win that way. I think that's still a fair question.
Well, to win that way every week, and they don't have to, so it's not a concern.
No, but again, last year, John, the reason they were able to win that way so consistently is why? Because they had the number 1 defense in football.
So here's the question:
have that this year, what do you have to do to win those games?
Well, you know, Saquon Barkley's probably not going to get 2,500 yards, but he's still Saquon Barkley. He's still going to have a tremendous impact as long as he's healthy. The question becomes, what do you do if you don't have that? If he gets injured and it becomes Will Shipley or AJ Dillon, then what happens? Then that if you don't have the number 1 defense playing complementary football and you got to go out and score 30 points every week to win, what happens? Are they capable of doing that? I know they're skill position players. The AJ and Devontae and Dallas are capable of doing it. Is the quarterback capable of being a high volume thrower, like the true high volume throwers in the NFL? For a game, sure. Over a full season, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, no, he's not. That's not the kind of quarterback he is. I don't want him to be something he's not either.
I'm saying if you have to.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I agree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. But what do you think, John, coming into this season? And I'll laugh at the people who say, "Oh, there's nothing you need to improve." What do you think Jalen Hurts needs to improve coming into this season?
Well, right off, you know, the simple drop back game, you know, because everything is focused on, you know, third and 7, put your foot in the ground, deliver the football. He's got to improve on that. You know, when we talk about, you know, at the end of the season last year, and I am going to pat myself on the back a little before the Super Bowl, I said, "Epic, you know, Spagnuolo's coming, just run go routes." So he needs to get better, and it worked to perfection. He needs to get better with sight adjustments, and, you know, because that's not going to work consistently over 20 games or 21 games, just go routes. I said, you know, for one game, it worked brilliantly. You know, you can go back to the Seattle game in 2023. That's what they did. They said, fuck it, and just ran a go route and ignored. And he was late with the ball, and they lose the game because of it. He's got to get better with sight adjustments. So those would be the two most obvious things. And that's borne out, as I said, 27th in the NFL, non-play action, 27th ranked passer in the NFL. It's got to be better. It's not wrong.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with saying that. It's absurd that people can't say that.
No, I think it's all good conversation, good talking points. I mean, it's football. It's a game full of nuance and context, and there's a lot of it as to why the Eagles won last year and what they'll need to do to win in the upcoming years. And we're going to talk about it all here on Birds 365. We appreciate everybody in the chat. Hit that like button for those who agree, disagree. We love you all. As always, we appreciate the conversation, and we'll continue to have it here on Birds 365. Hit that like button for us. In hour number 2, we're going to have Les Bowen join the show. We even had Les on in a little bit, so I'm very excited to talk to Les, see what he thinks of the offseason. Les Bowen, what they've done, whether they're ready to go back and repeat, what he's looking for to come out of OTA. So we'll talk to him coming up. But when we come back from the break, we are going to talk a little defense. Just talked a lot of offense here in the opening segment here. John will be heading down right after practice, right, John? Vic Fangio is set to speak, at 12:50, I believe?
Yeah, as soon as the show is over, I'm gonna be heading down there.
Yeah, good stuff. So Johnny Mac will be down there today. Appreciate all you guys staying locked in here on Birds 365. Hit that like button. And then again, I told you yesterday, for those who missed it, the Wildwoods is back. All right, so we got 2 spots in the stop set for the Wildwoods. We appreciate them coming back on board for the summer here on JAKIB Sports. And check out their spots and make sure you check them out and go and get your vacation in at the Wildwoods. Great place to go, as always, in the summer. So awesome stuff there. Appreciate all of you guys listening. We'll be right back in 3 minutes.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Shot Takers and the Tastemakers. Welcome to the Viewfinders, the Thrill Seekers, and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand.
Thank you.
We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Thrill Seekers and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen. Give us follows on X at Real Zander and at JF McMullen. Johnny Mac headed down to OTAs today after the show, so he'll take in OTA open OTA to reporters number 2, second of 2 overall. They have 6 total OTAs. They'll be on the field today, and then their last OTA will be Thursday. So wrapping up this week, and then next Tuesday we have the mandatory mini camp that John will be at as well. So a couple of trips down to NovaCare in the next couple of weeks for Johnny Mac. John, as you set to go down there post-show today, a lot of questions on this defense coming in. We talked about the offense in segment number 1, but also talked about how the defense aided that offense, and now we have a lot of question marks on this defense, on this defensive line. And the secondary, all over the place when it comes to the defensive personnel. So what are you looking forward to see today to try and get a better handle on what this defense will be in 2025?
Yeah, I think a lot of it. Well, first you got to get the Bryce Huff stuff out of the way, and it'll be interesting to see what Vic says about that. But as far as moving forward, I think the vast majority is going to be about that, and I think it starts with the guy who's not out there yet, and that's Jahad Campbell, because such an interesting piece. The way Howie talked about him after the draft. The fact that, he came to Alabama as an edge rusher. He ended up as a stack linebacker. The Eagles think he can do both. What does that mean? What does it look like? How does he get on the field early? So I think that's and then Makuba as well as the second pick. Those two guys need to play as soon as possible. In the case of Campbell, there's some injury complications. With Makuba, there isn't. And what does him being on the field look like? Does he just start at safety opposite Reed Blankenship? Does he factor into the slot? Do you do it that way? And maybe that impacts, how is Kaylee Ringo doing? How is Adoree Jackson doing on the outside? Do you have to put Cooper outside? You have to do it eventually. Why not now? A lot of moving parts. Now, Vic is already on record saying he'd prefer to keep Cooper inside, but he knows the business like everybody else, and he knows the reality. And maybe, if Makuba can play in the slot and Sidney can play at safety, maybe that's the out of the box thinking.
Right.
Where then you can move Cooper outside. So a lot of question marks on the defense, a lot of change on the defense from what was obviously a very successful defense, but also a lot of upside, a lot of potential with players, not only like Campbell and Makuba, but younger players like Jalix Hunt, and is Nolan Smith going to continue to get better? So, there's some opportunities to get guys on the right track, and if anybody can do it, it's probably going to be Vic Fangio.
Yeah, got to give a shout out to our guy Fredo Vic, who was the one who brought up the Cooper or the Makuba to the slot question. Shout out to you, Fredo, if you're still watching or if you're watching today. We appreciate you, brother. John, how much confidence do you personally get from Vic Fangio integrating these new players into this scheme? I mean, I don't think we can go too far with it. And, as we referenced yesterday, Vic Fangio is not God. He needs good players, but I do think they got him good players. They're just unproven players. So how much confidence does a guy like Vic Fangio give you when it comes to acclimating, integrating, and improving players that are young, unproven, and really still moldable, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of confidence in him. I think he's the best defensive coordinator in football. So, I think, but as Bryce Huff proves, he's not perfect. It's not 100%. He's not going to get the most out of everybody. That's just not realistic. But yeah, I think I think I'd rather have him doing it than just about anybody else. You know, there's a couple other guys I trust, but he'd be at the top of the list.
Right.
So from that standpoint, and I think now that Howie has a better feel for what type of players he wants, I think, if you look at Smith, Hunt, and Campbell specifically, as edge players, and even throw Zach Bond into that conversation. I think because Smith started as an edge rusher, he did play a little bit of all-ball linebacker when they had injuries in the playoffs against Tampa. I think people forget he played linebacker at Georgia as well, off-ball stack linebacker. So he's sort of in the same mix as Zach Bond, Jahad Campbell, Jalix Hunt, who used to be a safety at Cornell. You can see they're all similar from a trait standpoint. They can rush, they can cover, they're athletic. In the case of Nolan, he can even set the edge. But I think you see the difference now that Howie kind of knows what Vic likes and what Vic wants. And then in the secondary, it's about high football IQ. It's about because you gotta be ready to handle an array of different zone coverages on the drop of a dime, and you got to be able to communicate. And Reed is tremendous at that. Cooper's tremendous at that. That's what Makuba is supposed to be good at. Slay was obviously phenomenal at it. Mitchell's just a natural off coverage player. It's the reason the Eagles liked him so much. So you can see them getting players that fit what Vic wants. And there's a better chance to obviously optimize those players than the potential one mistake so far, which was Bryce Huff.
Right. Any of those unproven players that you're particularly confident in?
Well, there's different levels. I mean, Nolan is proven to a certain degree. Quignon's already proven to a certain degree. Cooper's already proven to a certain degree. So I take them out of the equation.
Yeah, I would as well.
But as for the younger players who aren't who haven't performed on the field yet to a significant degree, I would probably say it's easy to say Campbell, but so I'll say Makuba. I think they're both great fits for what Vic wants. A little bit concerned about the lack of size for Makuba and the physicality that he plays with, similar to Avonte Maddox. But we've seen that. We had concerns over Devontae Smith offensively and Nolan Smith defensively, and the game is changing. So it's just you get lighter and lighter and lighter. And by the way, now they played one team in Baltimore and they were successful. And there's not a lot of teams, but if somebody does what the Eagles did, like I said, the Eagles defense could not stop the Eagles offense. I firmly believe that. Even though the Eagles defense was better than the Eagles offense last season, technically. Number 1 versus number 8, dominant in the Super Bowl. I do not believe the Eagles defense could stop the Eagles offense.
Which is a funny comment considering our first segment where we did question. I mean, we just talked about the the complexity of the offense. If that defense couldn't have stopped that offense, I mean, shit, maybe we are overthinking the offense and the thing doesn't need to change much.
Well, it's style. It's not, and they did it once. They did it against Baltimore, who actually technically had a better running game than the Eagles. And they stopped it. And they played very well. And so you really don't have to worry about it because there's only a couple teams that can do it. But if you run up against one of the couple teams that can do it at the wrong time, that's all it takes. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no doubt. Fly Eagle says she saw a video of McCuba in the locker room. He looks very small. He is definitely a smaller dude. I mean, it's kind of the modern game now, so I think he could get away with it. I think he does have that. He does have a natural knack if you watch his tape, definitely in coverage and stuff. I think he could be very good there. But I'm with John, and you wonder how the body will hold up at the NFL level. Certainly some questions there. Let me make sure I got all of our super chats. JH checks in. Not Eagle related, but thoughts on Ragnar retiring. This is good. I wanted to go here. I wanted to bring this up. Yeah, brutal for the Lions.
Loss for the Lions. Something about Detroit, man. Great players retire early.
And late though,
Barry
John.
Sanders,
Why did he wait till June to tell him? It's like
Well,
talent acquisition season is in the back 10% of the time now, and you tell him now.
yeah, I mean,
I don't know if something came up or what, but
well, there's some talk that he wanted a new contract. So there's some belief, but like, is it real? Is it not real? He seemed like it was pretty real when he announced it himself on, I think, Instagram.
yeah.
You know, his body just breaking down. And some guys are like, you know, rather play with their kids or, you know, one thing about NFL football from getting to be in the locker room and behind the scenes, and I say it all the time, like so many fans think, oh, he's cleared, he's healthy. That ain't the case, man. And I talked about Jason Kelsey for years. Like, yeah, he's fine. He ain't fine. Especially, you know, offensive linemen, defense, they bite through a lot of stuff to get out there. Jason Peters, man, that dude would need to stretch for 30 minutes just to get ready for practice because of the wear and tear it took on his body. And you know, everybody's different. And most guys just want to make as much money for what is ultimately a short span as possible. But others, you know, if there's concerns about their health, they put that above anything else. And I can't blame them for it. But on the field, great player, arguably the best center in football.
Yeah.
You know, most people would say Creed Humphrey, but he's right there. If he's not one, he's two.
Yeah, it's Frank or Creed to me. Take your pick. I'll take the other one and be happy with him.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's a big blow for the Lions because their offensive line, much like here, has been the strength of their team. And to lose a player like that, and they don't have an obvious Cam Jurgens like replacement, that's a big blow to the Lions.
No doubt about it. We'll see what ends up happening there. I'm not sure. Do they have any guys right now? Like who's going to be their – who is slotted in as his replacement right now? Any idea? I know you don't follow the – I know you're not a Lions supporter, John, so I don't want to put you on the spot. But I just don't know. Like the Eagles have 38 offensive linemen on the bench right now. I'd be like, well, can we find one center from this? But I don't know if the Lions –
well, they can't. That's you should look at the Eagles. They didn't have a backup center. Well, their backup center is better than their real center, but I digress because Landon Dickerson is phenomenal as a center. That's not an insult to Cam Jurgens at all, just how good Landon is. But he's not, they didn't want him to be the backup center. And that's why they drafted Drew Kendall this year, because they want a legitimate backup center. But even the Eagles have had trouble. Now, you know, they drafted Tate Ratledge in the second round. He's a guy who can play multiple positions. They might try to squeeze him in. I think Graham Glasgow has previous experience at center. So they might move Glasgow to center and put Ratledge in at guard. So it'll probably be that either way. One of those two will probably play center. I would think Glasgow more than Ratledge, and the other one will play guard. would be my guess. But big blow.
Huge. I mean, it's huge. I think the Lions are going to take a big step back because of it.
Yeah, I mean, Lions got a lot of questions.
I mean, again, though, John, this is where we in Philadelphia are spoiled. All right, teams don't just move on from this level centers easily like we did in Philly. All right, 31 other teams would have lost Jason Kelce and struggled for at least a couple of years to replace him. Not the Philadelphia Eagles. I think in Detroit they're going to have some struggles replacing him.
Yeah, and the Eagles, remember, they drafted Cam Jurgens, and his first year he didn't play, and everybody was upset because they drafted him in the second round. The second year he played guard because Kelce was still going, and it wasn't until his third year. So they had a long-term plan with a very good prospect. And here, even if you consider Ratledge, because he's a second-round pick, just like Cam, but now he's got to be thrown into the fire immediately. It's not the same. Cam got a whole redshirt season essentially. So it's, but at least they have somebody with some high-level traits, but we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I do think the Lions are going to take a step back next year. 2 new coordinators in Detroit. Now you lost your Hall of Fame center and Frank Ragnow, and that was really the core of that team and what made, I think, Jared Goff look so good. What made that offense flow the way it did. So you lose Ben Johnson and you lose Frank Ragnow. I don't think that's going to be the same football team next year, but they still do have a lot of talent. So we'll see how that shakes out. We got Les Bowen coming up here. Coming up in a couple of minutes here on Birds 365. I'm looking forward to talking to Les, John. We haven't talked to Les in a little bit. I'm curious to see, he is a very objective take as always. So I'm curious to hear what he has to say about where the Eagles were last year, where they are now, and what he projects for the future. It's going to be interesting to see. Rashid Mixon checks in. J-Mac, WWE related. How dare they get rid of our truth like that? Look at this.
Yeah. Well, I cover sports. I think wrestling fans are interesting. Like, R-Truth is 53 years old. He had a 17-year run, I believe, I'm like, to me, it's like, it's pretty obvious, guys. But wrestling fans, man, they're like, now everybody loves the guy. It's almost universal. It's crazy how many people love the guy. But I mean, that's the nature of the beast. Now, it's not pro sports, but it's pro sports adjacent. When you get to be an age where you age out, to me, it's, kind of amazing as long as he made it, and you should tip his cap and say, all right, that's understandable. Some of the other ones are not understandable when they release people. But the bottom line, it's just like football. Somebody comes in, somebody's got to go. And they have all these former Olympians and college athletes, and they've gone this direction. And as they raise up, some of the old guards got to go. It's just like sports.
Yep, no doubt about it. Good stuff there on the WWE question. Appreciate that, brother. Appreciate everybody in here today. I think we've had some really good conversation today about the offense and defense as we head down. John will head down to OTAs today, number 2. All right, so there's 6 total. They're through. What are they through? I guess through 3 or no, through 4. They got
this
5.
This is number 5. They only have one more left. That'll be Thursday, I believe. Off tomorrow. That'll be Thursday. And then they have 1 day mandatory minicamp next Tuesday. So a week from today.
Yeah, so we'll get that. We'll get that report on here on Birds 365 a week from today. Looking forward to doing all of that. Let's take our next commercial break, and then we'll get to Les Bowen coming up next here on Birds 365. Appreciate all of you for watching today. Hit that like button. We'll be right back in 3 minutes with Les Bowen.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Shot Takers and the Tastemakers. Welcome to the Viewfinders, the Thrill Seekers, and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone and Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Thrill Seekers and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen, the #1 Eagles beat reporter. Give us a follow on X. For me, it's at Real Zander. And for John, it's at JF McMullen. And for those over on Instagram as well, you can follow me at Zander Krause Show. Johnny Mac, are you excited to go to OTAs today?
Am I excited to go to OTAs?
I think you radiated excitement when I asked that.
I wouldn't say excited, but I think it's interesting. But yeah, I wouldn't say excited.
I'm like half jealous. I'll say that. Like, I'm like not jealous, but at the same time, I am kind of jealous. I want to go down there. I want to see what's going on with these rookies. I want to see what goes on at the Nova Care.
Well, I think people that feel that way would be disappointed very quickly. You know,
you think so?
Gary
Cobb kind of said the same thing yesterday. Yeah. He's like, you don't really see a whole lot, but you can see something. I guess it's but more than nothing, but it's not a whole lot.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I think that and Les can talk about this one pops on. I think the glamorous world of NFL practice isn't what most fans perceive it to be. I would say, but we'll see what Les says.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go to Les Bowen right now, joining us on the show. He joins us here. Les Bowen, welcome into the show, man. You got to adjust that camera up just a little bit for us, Les, but you look good, my friend. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday edition of Birds 365. How you doing, Les?
I'm doing well, Zander. How are you guys?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, I'm having to use my phone for this right now. For some reason, my laptop's camera has stopped working, and I don't know a lot about these things. But
you know, my fix for that, Les, is just Control-Alt-Delete and hope it works.
Control-Alt-Delete, restart it 4 or 5 times until it starts to.
And I got to get the IT guy involved. You never want that. But
that's right. Which in my case would mean texting my son.
Yeah, the younger people have a better feel for it than we do. But you probably heard what I was saying about NFL practice. Yeah, I hear a lot from fans. I'm sure you have. They're jealous of us. I don't think they'd be that jealous of us if they had to do it every day. It's not as exciting. What is your take on NFL practices?
Watching practice, we used to be able to do a lot more of it than we do now.
Yeah, well,
there's that. But yeah, it's generally you spend as a reporter, you're basically out there to figure out who's not practicing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That as far as watching them do these little drills and things, it doesn't. I maybe sometimes fans think that they're actually like running into each other and sacking the quarterback and stuff like. And they're obviously not doing any of those things almost all the time. They don't ever sack the quarterback. They do occasionally have a padded practice, but it's incredibly rare. These spring things are just what they're trying to do now. As you guys know, is just teach these rookies where they're supposed to be. When they call out a certain sequence of numbers. Okay, you're standing right here, which is why so many veterans skip this, because it has no value for them whatsoever. They could maybe be helpful in telling the kid, hey, no, over there. But other than that, this is really it's almost like multiplication tables in school or something. It's very rudimentary, very you just don't see, you're not going to like, oh, wow, watch that guy, especially if he's like a lineman or something, because they're not doing anything.
Offensive line. I don't even look at the offensive lineman in the spring, guys. It's like a 7-on-7 passing camp for me.
Right.
I'm like, well, maybe I could. And even last year, I thought it was hilarious because they would just send Saquon out to sort of wide and have him stand at the line of scrimmage and basically, fake he was going to catch the football. They probably did that 15 times last year, and I'm like, well, this is it. This is the great Saquon Barkley. But then he gets the pads on, and you see the great Saquon Barkley.
Right, and they don't do anything in practice that would really show you that. Maybe he bursts through the line of scrimmage or something, but he's not hurdling anybody backwards in practice. I can assure you.
No, he is not.
Yeah, no doubt. Les, we'll get into some of the the specifics of the questions, but I do want to ask you from a macro. We haven't talked to you in a little bit. Eagles won the Super Bowl last year. They've had a lot of turnover on the roster. Where are you right now on where they are, what Howie's done so far this offseason, and just if you believe they're still a team that's built to potentially have a shot at repeating the losses on defense, the changes on offense? Just what do you think so far of what they've done here in the offseason?
Well, I think they've had a good offseason. It's the realities of the cap and so forth, and the incredible luck they had last year putting together the roster. I mean, it was skill, but it was also luck. I mean, nobody knew Zach Bond was going to play like this. They're not going to be as nobody. That was one of the best teams we've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at what they did in the NFC Championship game and what they did in the Super Bowl, that might be one of the top 5-6 NFL teams of all time. And I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that. It was an incredibly dominant team. I mean, you just saw this week, they traded away a guy there was a huge offseason acquisition for them last year who never really played much and was inactive for the Super Bowl. And I think Dave Murphy did a good job writing about this in the Inquirer. It's just amazing that they won the Super Bowl having made a horrible mistake.
I know. It is amazing, Les.
So I guess what I'm saying, I'm taking a long way to get to my point, but they're not going to be that dominant this year, but they're still very, very, very good. They have a very tough schedule. I think I saw it ranked 4th in the NFL, which, you expect that when you win the Super Bowl. They can certainly contend for another Super Bowl. I do think about, though, the fact that we've seen post-Super Bowl years before win and lose. I think there have been 4 of them for the Eagles up to now. Has any of those seasons turned out really great? No, not a
Yeah,
single
that's
one.
true. That's true. But
Uh,
this group is more talented, I
I
think.
know,
They're
yes,
better
and I
equipped.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree, but it's worth keeping that in mind.
Yes.
It
Yes.
just, I mean, a million things can happen. You could, by the end of October, Jalen Hurts could be out for the year, God forbid, and Saquon Barkley, and
Yeah.
the whole, I mean, things have a way of catching up with you in sports, but maybe not. Maybe they just, maybe we're seeing something we've never seen here before.
Yeah.
Which is pretty exciting to think about. But yeah, I think you talked about personnel differences, mostly almost all on defense. I mean, I guess they'll have about 5 new defensive starters, and we'll have to see how that goes. I don't think they're in a terrible spot with any of those changes. I'd still like to see them have another edge rusher, but we'll see about that.
Yeah, I'm with
Um,
you. I find it
Offense,
hard to believe this team will go into the season without doing something at edge rusher, but maybe it's as simple
yeah.
as, and we're going to get to talk to Vic today for the first time about all these changes. But I guess just to wrap up the Huff thing,
hmm
number one, I don't know if you got this on your social media, but I got this. Everybody's trying to hand Howie's flowers. This is not the one. Howie's a great general manager, but this is not the one where you should be saying, "Oh, great move." Like, no, he admitted a mistake and he made the best of it that he could. But
and
essentially,
a
as
lot
I
of
look
dead
at it,
money is
yeah,
still out of this. Yeah,
he spent $26 million for 300 whatever snaps of Bryce Huff,
yeah.
and they're paying $9 million so he can play for San Francisco, an
Yeah.
NFC team.
And it
That's not a
wouldn't it be
positive.
horribly ironic if Bryce Huff plays well for San Francisco?
Yeah. So, but he did a great job overall, but nobody's perfect. And
Right.
and I do like the ability to admit a mistake and move on. But boy, that edge group looks light, and not only literally because it's a bunch of undersized guys, but from a depth standpoint, even Nolan Smith. I
Yeah.
mean, it's he had a great final 10 games of the season. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a large sample size.
No,
Jalen's not,
we're really
yeah,
projecting on that, and that he can stay healthy and all that stuff. Like you said, he's a very light guy for his
yeah.
position, and yeah, there's a yeah, but overall, it's a tremendous team. It'll be tougher. I mean, I think the division is pretty good, with the exception of the Giants, and it's we'll have to see how it all shakes out. There's a lot of quirks with the schedule, but I think the bye is in a good spot, and you go from there.
I think the bye was in a bad spot last year,
Yeah,
Les,
it
and that
was.
proves,
Yeah,
when you're really good, nothing matters.
yeah,
Nothing
yeah.
matters. Doesn't matter if you're home, road
Right,
trip, early bye. You just beat everybody. You beat everybody, and that was, as
right.
you mentioned, and I agree. You're not using hyperbole at all to say that that was one of the best teams of the modern era ever. I don't like to compare with the 72 Dolphins because they're playing a different game. There's been so
Right.
many
Yeah,
changes.
yeah.
So I kind of look at it, and this is one of the best modern era teams, free agency era teams ever. I agree with that wholeheartedly. One aspect that I also think people don't take into account is career years. Like Saquon Barkley's still going to be great, but is he going to have
Right.
2,505 yards?
Yeah. Well, the history of 2,000-yard runners the next year is not good, much like the history of Eagles teams after going to the Super Bowl is not good. But, he's healthy and he's young, and he's got that great offensive line in front of him, so we'll see. But teams are going to really be on that. You saw the Super Bowl where the Kansas City, all the announcers, all Burkhardt and Brady wanted to talk about was what a wonderful job Kansas City was doing in shutting down Saquon Barkley while the
Yeah.
score mounted
Yeah.
higher and higher.
Well, I think, I'm surprised Tom didn't explain, when you use that much to stop one play, it opens
Right.
up everything else.
Yes.
Yeah. And Saquon still had a huge impact on that
Yeah.
game. just because they spent every available option trying to stop him. And
Yeah,
that made it
I think
easier
the
for everybody
announcers
else.
in that game were sort of, I think in both of the Super Bowls the Eagles have won, we've had this phenomenon where the announcers expected to be doing one thing and they ended up doing something else. In Super Bowl 52, I think Michaels and Collinsworth expected to be uh, giving the Patriots their flowers and the greatness of Tom Brady and so on and so forth. That was their mindset going into that game, and they didn't adjust very well. Collinsworth wanting to take away all the Eagles' touchdown catches, and Michael's not being sure that the game was over when the game ended. They kind of weren't prepared for what the Eagles did.
Yeah. Well, you could have still said about Tom Brady because he had 505
Oh
passing
yeah,
yards.
absolutely. That'll never happen again.
I
505
still,
passing yards and lose. But and then the same thing happened this time. They were there to anoint the Chiefs for their three-peat, and the greatness of the Chiefs and so on and so forth.
yeah.
And it went the other way, and they really didn't. I rewatched that broadcast, they really didn't. They weren't, even when it was once. I know announcers aren't supposed to say, "Wow, this is a blowout. This
Yeah.
game's over,"
Trying to
but
keep
they
the
kind of
audience.
never did. They were just they wouldn't. They kept talking about what the Chiefs needed to do, and it was an interesting exercise, but probably a little bit unfulfilling for Eagles fans.
What do you think this year's calling for Jalen Hurts to be, Les? I mean, I think each iteration of the last 4 years has kind of required him to be a different version of himself, all within maybe the same offense, but a different version of himself. What do you think the 2026 or 2025, Philadelphia Eagles will require Jalen Hurts to be this year?
Boy, that's really interesting, Xander. What we were just talking about, I don't think they'll be able to run as much and as effectively as they did last season. I think teams will really focus on that. And he's going to have to be more like the Hurts of the Super Bowl and hit, a dagger and really, his passing stats last year, they were efficient, but they weren't prolific at all. And he has the tools to be prolific. I think they're going to have to be a little more of a passing team, maybe not dramatically so, but I want to see what he's like. I think a lot of pressure is off him. I mean, he's won the Super Bowl. He's been the Super Bowl MVP. And I don't think we've ever had a quarterback. Nick Foles, it was a strange situation. He did those things, but he wasn't really the starting quarterback when he
not very
returned.
different. Yeah, very different circumstance.
We've never seen this in Philadelphia. And I think maybe Hurts goes into this in a situation where a bad week or a week where, he misses some throws isn't like you don't spend the next week, oh my God, do the Eagles have the quarterback they need to win the Super Bowl? Yeah.
Well, you'll still get that. I'm pretty confident, Les.
Maybe.
Dan Orlovsky's
does it
of the
land the
world.
same way? Does
Yeah.
it land the same way after he has won the Super Bowl? I think he can loosen up a little. I think he can be a little more himself this year, to me anyway. But yeah, I'm interested to see what it means for him as a player. If it means he can play with a little more abandon, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've ever seen a quarterback that can go from being described as top 5 in one season to be bottom 5 in the same season. It's such a for some of these, and I think most of it is gaslighting people and grifting people, because it gets attention. And one week you got these guys saying, "Oh, he's terrible," and the next week he's great.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, I'm like, well, pay attention to who you're listening to, and if they do that, maybe don't hold their opinion up in such high regard. That's
right.
My personal opinion, but
I agree totally on that. Yeah.
Yeah. But for Jalen, I think he's proved. I mean, the guy's just good. However you want to describe it, he wins. He finds a way to One of the best things I always say about Jalen Hurts, and you've been around this even longer than me, Les. You've seen a lot of quarterbacks. When they have a bad game, they have a bad game. It's sort of like a starting pitcher. They don't have their best stuff. Jalen Hurts can play poorly in the first quarter, in the second quarter, even the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, he's making a play to beat you.
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
He's a mentally tough guy. There
Yeah.
is no doubt about that. Nobody's ever going to say that he's soft or, anything like that. That's very true, John. He isn't I get frustrated. I think everybody who watches him gets frustrated from time to time because you'd love to see him have the vision and the overall mastery of the position that Manning or somebody like that has, but that's not really him. I mean, he doesn't turn the ball over. He moves the ball down the field, and he does what what he has to do to win. And if that requires him to hurl himself into the line, with abandon, he does that on occasion. And he's a great leader. And I think that's a big part of their success is who he is off the field. And so I think they're in good hands there.
Do you think that bothers the owner or the GM at all? I mean, they are paying $60 million a year to wide receivers.
Right.
I mean, you don't really have to do that if you're not going to use them all that much, but kind of the nature of the team. What do you think they think about that? Or maybe it's just all positive. We keep winning, maybe they don't care.
I think as long as you win the Super Bowl, it's fine. But there would be if they were falling short with these weapons, it would be a problem. There's no doubt about it. But
I would say, Les, if they lost that Rams game and they were really close to losing that this offseason would have been a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
A dumpster fire.
Yeah.
That's how
you're exactly right. They screwed around there. They were the better team.
Oh, yeah.
They screwed around and got the Rams back in the game and were one Matthew Stafford miraculous play away from being in a real problem.
Wasn't even miraculous. And that first Jalen Carter saved the season.
Yeah.
On that first Jalen Carter, he had back-to-back rushes, but the first one, I forget the defender who slipped, but it was snowing. He slipped. Tyler Higbee was wide open.
Yeah.
If Jalen Carter doesn't get there, that is an easy. He might have got pulled down at the 1 or 2 yard line, but it probably a touchdown.
Right.
And boy, how things would have changed. So Jalen Carter deserves a lot of credit for that season as well. But to go to Vic, because it's a big day, Vic Fangio is going to talk today.
Yes.
And he's the one with all the moving parts. He, in my estimation, best defensive coordinator in football. He proved himself. Do they count too much on Vic? It's like Vic will figure it out type of thing versus they pay everybody on offense.
I've heard that said about Stoutland before, that they pay too much. They spend too much time thinking Stoutland will make some 5th round guy, or fans do anyway, a great player. As far as Vic, I don't know. I tend to think that they make moves that Vic approves of, that Vic wants. I don't know how he felt about C.J. Gardner-Johnson, but I don't think they've done. For instance, the Huff thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Howie was still talking last time he spoke.
Yeah, it was like he's stubborn. He wanted to give him another chance. Yeah.
As if he could do something with the guy. And I think Vic just told, no, this guy's not. I'm not putting him on the field. I think that's why Huff is gone. I kind of think Vic's in charge there, but that's just I'm not on the inside of that, obviously.
No, I think you're right.
The sense I get is that it's Vic's deal, and money-wise, I don't think in this offseason it was that strategic that the changes were all on defense and not on offense. It was a matter of whose contract was up and, what they had to do with the money they had left. And I think they would have liked to have kept a few of those guys, but that was kind of the way it was all set up, going into the off season. There wasn't any way to get Milt Williams back here. I
Yeah.
mean, you just couldn't spend that money for Milton Williams, even though I think they would have loved to. Sweat, I don't know. I don't know if they would have paid Josh Sweat. I mean, great playoff run, but good career. Will the team that signed him really be that ecstatic about Josh Sweat this time next year? I don't know. But I do think they listen to Vic a lot. And I'm really. If you guys ask him about Huff today, I'm really. Maybe he
Oh
won't.
yeah, that's
He's
going to be
pretty
asked.
smart. He's not going to
No.
rip the guy or
No.
anything. But I do think that's Vic saying, "Nah, get that out of here. I don't want that."
I do think it's interesting how you point out, like, Vic has more say with Howie than maybe any other coach in the building. Maybe Stoutland, you could say, on the offensive line, but I don't think Nick Sirianni has the ability to say to Howie, "Hey, I like this guy." You know what I mean? Even this year's first round pick list, which is my next question about the rookies, they took a first round pick on a joker type of player who's kind of a positionless player. Now, he wasn't positionless at college, but projected to be a little bit of that player. I think it's interesting that they went there. What kind of impact do you think the rookies need to have on this team this year? I mean, you had a lot of success from rookies last year. That was more the exception than the rule.
Yeah.
I think they're going to need some impact from these rookies upcoming. What do you see in this rookie class?
Yeah, you're exactly right, and that's a good question. They were very fortunate last year. I didn't foresee. I kind of thought Isaiah Rodgers would start over Quinyon Mitchell, just because in the old days, a rookie corner, that was even a great player. A rookie corner was problematic. What Mitchell did was extraordinary. What DeJean did was extraordinary. I wasn't really expecting anything along those lines from either of those guys. So yeah, I think, and they're certainly expecting that again. They're expecting Jihad Campbell to get his shoulder right and make a contribution, I think. Nakobe Dean isn't going to be. I know I keep reading all these. Oh, he might be ahead of schedule. That's a patellar tendon that was injured at the very end of the season. That's maybe my medical knowledge is out of date, but to me, that's mid-season for me. So I think they do need Jihad Campbell. I think they need the safety they drafted in the second round to really step up. I don't think Sidney Brown has showed me or Vic Fangio that he's a starting safety in the NFL that you can really depend on. He can run around and hit people, but outside of that, so yeah, I think there's at least two guys that are going to have to. It better look pretty darn good coming out of this rookie class, and it's a lot to expect on a year-to-year basis. And if it continues and it works, it's a tremendous testament to their position coaches and the coaching overall that they get this level of play from these guys.
Cooper DeJean is another one of those guys who excelled as a rookie. I want to talk about Cooper with you, Les, from the business of football aspect. And this was highlighted by the Houston Texans, who in the same week made Derek Stingley the top paid outside corner in football history, and Jalen Petrie the top paid nickelback in NFL history, since passed, but at the time. And the difference was about $50 million. Stingley got about $50 million more dollars. Cooper DeJean, it's great. He's great in the slot. But I think the business of football demands he's got to move outside at some point to maximize his earning power. Is there any way around that?
I don't know. I hope there is, because I think he had such an incredible impact in the slot. And I think the way the game is played now, I don't think the salary thing matches the reality. I think he was as involved as an outside corner. he made more plays than Slay made. I think, you know, but you're right. We went through this years ago with Lane Johnson.
Yeah.
Lane was drafted to eventually be Jason Peters' successor at left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know that Jason was going to play forever. And it was a big thing for Lane's first couple contracts. You know, his agent was there was a little concern about that because right tackles in those days did not get paid what left tackles got paid. And the Eagles kind of had to make that leap to say, okay, he's the greatest right tackle, so what the hell, you know? And he stayed at right tackle. He's going to play his whole career at right tackle and be very, very well compensated for that.
Yeah.
Maybe a reckoning like that is coming for slot corner. I don't know. But do you think it's less important, really, than an outside corner in the game that we're seeing played in the NFL today with the tight ends and everything that and the emphasis again on running, where, you know, a corner that can come down in the box and make a tackle like DeJean can, screen passes.
No,
I'm not a
I think it
great.
shows up. I think it shows up when you have a really good slot corner, and there aren't a lot of really good slot corners. But yeah, the thought process is, you know, the AJ Browns of the world, the Justin Jeffersons of the world, they're going to line up outside way
Yes.
more than they are inside, and Jamar Chase in that category as well. And that's the theory, but
Yeah.
you're right. I mean, CD Lamb goes inside a lot.
Yeah, I also think though too the business of the NFL, like Les, I think you bring up a good point, but aren't they going to use that against him in his agent and contract talk? I mean, hey man, you're a slot corner.
Well, that's the problem.
We're not giving you $100 million, even if
Joe
you might
Banner
be more
certainly would have
valuable.
done it that way.
Know?
Yeah.
You know, but I think Howie's smarter than that. I mean, this guy is really important to your team. I don't think
I agree.
You make it, you know what the importance to you is, and I don't think you want to pretend it's otherwise, just to make a few. The locker room is very important, and you don't want people in your locker room feeling they've been gypped or that they didn't get what they deserve within reason. I mean, everybody can't be the highest paid everything, but you don't want key contributors being severely underpaid. That doesn't work in a team sport. Even if it works for you in your cap, it doesn't work on the field and in the locker room. So, and I think that's a big difference between, frankly, Joe and Howie. Is that Joe kind of wanted to win at the negotiating table more. You know, Howie kind of wants to win on the field.
Yeah.
But and I put that a little too broadly. Joe's going to be mad if he ever sees this. But,
he probably
gets
will
mad at
too.
me a lot. But you know what I mean.
Yeah. At Les Bowen, make sure you follow Les on the X platform. Follow him at PHLY_sports, doing a great job for those guys. Still writing about the Eagles, so you can check him out there. The last OTA, I get it's hard to complain, but you get 10 OTAs. The Eagles are using 6. You can have a 3-day mini camp. Eagles are using 1. Is there any way you can poke holes in that after the success they had? You know, but other teams are out there preparing and using 10 OTAs. And
well, the problem there is you played until the middle of February. You know, I mean, you just can't. You're going to have more injuries if you do it another way. I mean, yes, you might be better prepared. Yes, the rookies might be in a better shape to contribute early in the season, but you can only do so much physically with these guys. And, you know, they put a lot of the Eagles study this stuff a lot. I think I trust them on this matter.
Well, fair enough.
Fair enough. Great stuff, Les Bowen. We appreciate you joining in, man. We always love talking to you here on Birds 365. As John mentioned, make sure you guys follow Les on Twitter at Les Bowen. Les, thanks for doing it today, man. We'll talk to you again soon down the line. We appreciate your contribution to the show today.
My pleasure, guys. Take care.
Thanks, bud.
There's Les Bowen joining us here on Birds 365. Great show there. Great segment with the great Les Bowen. Make sure you guys follow him and read all his work at PHLY. Does a great job. John, some interesting insight there from Les. And interesting, I always appreciate Les's thought process on things just because it forces me to think outside the box a little bit. I like the way he thinks about things when it comes to the team, the game, the business, and the approach.
Yeah, I mean, Les brought up a good point with Lane. You know, he's one of the guys. He's exactly right. I mean, at one point, left tackles got paid a heck of a lot more than right tackles. And one day, everybody woke up and said, "Hey, there's a bunch of good pass rushers on the other side as well, and right tackles are important as well." Now, left tackles still get a little bit more, but that sort of huge disparity has gone down. Maybe the same thing happens, and maybe Cooper DeJean is one of the players that changes that. But boy, it's the problem is the disparity is so huge right now, and it's hard to imagine it closing to the point to where the Eagles go, all right, we're going to pay $90 million to a slot corner versus the 45 or whatever Kyler Gordon got. I don't know. It's a tough one.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about this in the chat too. I think people are bringing up some good points. I mean, you know, our guy in here, what's his name, Dominique Dabney, who I always appreciate, who has some good comments. He said today, this is simple. I mean, if Cooper DeJean's the best slot cornerback in football, then guess where he's going to be playing. But my contention to that would be
But it's not simple.
It's not, right, because Cooper DeJean is going to want to earn more money.
Yeah.
He's going to want to maximize his value. And then for the people saying, you know, he already said he wants to help the team the most. He's not going to want a $50 million haircut, guys. He's not. It's going to create some friction. That doesn't mean he's right, but I think it's going to create friction.
Well, he is right. I mean, he's right on both instances. You know, he's very smart and he's very savvy to speak about team first, but behind the scenes, he's got an agent, and his agent will work for him to make the most money possible. I realize to a fan, they don't care for the most part about the business aspect, but it's real. It exists. And that's why you have people like Vic Fangio intimating himself, well, I'd like to keep him in the slot, but we'll see.
Right.
Because there's other aspects to it. So you can put your head in the sand and pretend they don't exist. But yeah, the disparity is stark. 90 million to 45 million. Anybody happy to have the option of 90 million and take the 45 million? Do it in a more everyday scenario. You get a $90,000 salary or a $45,000 salary. What do you want?
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. Now, I do wonder if there is some nuance in terms of the way Jeffrey and Howie operate. Like, I do believe they would try and make it right with that player, but there is a limit on where they'd go, especially if he's in that box of the slot corner. Now, I don't know where that would be, but I have a hard time believing. Give him whatever the slot gets because that's where he played. Like, I think he knows his value to the team. But where do you go? You know, where does that take you? That's my question on it.
And by the way, I think it's all going to work out because I think ultimately he's going to move outside. He's going to be really good outside and everything's going to be fine. But it is and they got 2 years to figure it out. And they could probably buy one more year of playing them inside. But, you know, if Makuba steps up and he can do it and, you know, Cooper's better than Kaylee Ringo or Adoree Jackson on the outside, which he probably will be. Hey, Sidney Brown's got to work out at safety, but it'll work itself out. But to Les's point, Howie's savvier than Joe. Sorry, Joe. Joe, it would have been no doubt about it. He's going to take advantage of the situation to try to limit the salary. Howie's a little bit more political in that matter. But again, that disparity is just too big. And not to say, I mean, Derek Stingley's number one. So, you got to be in a position to be the number one paid outside corner. So, but the fact that Houston did it in 1 week and made one of their corners the top paid outside corner and one of their defensive backs the top paid nickel back in the same week, and you saw the difference in money. Yeah, that's real, guys. Sorry, that's real.
No, it is. No doubt about it. I do think I'm curious to see how that shakes out. I'm one of the people that thinks Cooper DeJean is going to be an unbelievable outside corner. I understand people in the chat who say, well, we don't know how good he's going to be out there. They're completely different positions. I understand that. You're right. We haven't seen it at the NFL level, but my projection is that he's going to be damn good out there. We will see if I'm right.
Saw it at the college level. That's how the Eagles scouted him, as an outside corner.
Yeah, but I mean, people could say, yeah, well, you see, you scout tackles in college, or you project at guard, you know what I mean? So I think there's some nuance there.
Well,
from
yeah,
college,
but this is a good player. This
Yeah.
is a damn good player. The point is, you're projecting him inside was the projection. He played outside at Iowa, 90+% of the snaps. I think people don't realize that. He played way, way, way more outside than anywhere else at Iowa. So
We'll see
the
what ends up doing.
projection was inside.
All right. We'll see what ends up happening with Cooper DeJean. I do think it's a good conversation. I think Cooper DeJean will be here for a long time. So I'm not really worried about it from that perspective, but I am interested to see how it shakes out. Johnny Mac, minute left here on the show today. You're heading down to the NovaCare complex. Get us fired up, John. I know you're oozing with excitement to get down to the NovaCare complex today.
Yeah, Les explained it well. Yeah, Les took some of the heat off me. Yeah, it's not as exciting, but hey, it's football.
Yeah.
Somewhat
We
similar.
Derek Cobb on yesterday in the afternoon. He kind of said the same thing. He's like, I mean, I like going and all, but
I mean,
you get down there, you realize you're not really seeing a whole lot.
Yeah. And Les is right from the perspective of, it's about the rookie. It's not meaningful at all for the entrenched players. I mean, literally not at all. Those guys are not getting much out of it other than helping the younger players. It's about the younger players and getting them up to speed so that when training camp starts, they have as much knowledge as they possibly can in the bank.
That's actually exactly what Gary said. He said, I try and look and see, who's picking up things quicker than others and who's slower to pick things up. And that might have an impact on whether they're ready to go in the season. I thought that was interesting. Johnny Mac, your final thoughts on this Tuesday edition of the show. I thought Les was awesome today. I thought our open was awesome. I thought our offensive discussion was great, despite people getting
they always get upset about.
I do think it's a good conversation. I thought we hit on a lot of good things with it. Your final thoughts on today's Tuesday edition?
Vic Fangio Day. Excited to talk to Vic. Vic's always honest and blunt, and I think he will be today as well.
All right, you get first question for Vic Fangio. What are you asking?
What went wrong with Bryce Huff?
There you go. One super chat before you go, John. Rashid says, can he be paid under the title of DB? Would that be any different in pay for him?
They don't do things that way. Technically, you can do anything you want. The Eagles could make him the highest paid slot corner and pay him $91 million. They can do whatever they want in theory, but the reality is that outside corners get paid a heck of a lot more than slot corners. That's just been the history of the NFL, and that's what you lean on. Sometimes the gap closes, as Les pointed out, with left tackle, right tackle, but that generally happens over a significant period of time, not overnight. And that's the issue you're kind of dealing with.
Yep, no doubt about it. Johnny Mac, great show today, brother. Drive safely down to the NovaCare complex. We're looking forward to hearing from you tomorrow on Birds 365. Thank you, brother.
All right, thanks all.
All right, there's Johnny Mac, John McMullen, the #1 Eagles beat reporter in town. Give him a follow at JF McMullen and listen to him read all his work, all right, over on his Twitter, on his SI, and listen to him here on JAKIB Sports. Well done, everybody. Great show today. As always, I think all the conversations are good. I mean, I'm a host. I think people want me to be in a box of being an Eagle fan and being ultimately optimistic all the time, but I do have questions like we all do. I mean, we're all fans. We all watch the games. We all, question things. I don't think anybody goes through life just blindly believing in the most optimistic outcome. That's not certainly not how I go through life, but it might be how you go through life. But I appreciate you listening in, tuning in, watching the show, liking the show, commenting. I thought we had some great comments today. I can't address them, as many of them as I would like, but I do think you guys add a great element to this show. We've got a lot of great fans, a lot of smart people in our chat, and I always try and bring some of the best comments up when I can. So that brings me to my point right now. I will take a couple of comments from you guys before I get out of Dodge here. All right. Back in the 8 to 10 a.m. spot. What'd you guys think yesterday, the 10 to 12 Birds 365? I figured there would be a portion of people that loved it and then a portion of people that were itching for morning content from 8 to 10 a.m. That's what I figured, but we could never do it that way forever or long term because John, obviously, like today, he's going down to the NovaCare complex, so he's got to leave right at 10 a.m. So we would never be able to do it later, but I did enjoy the one day of doing it from 10 to 12. I thought it was good stuff, and we had great viewership too as well. So that was pretty cool. Look at this nerd, Cody BK. Look at this nerd. You nerd, Cody. He says, Zander bending the knee to Les Bone. I don't bend the knee to anybody but Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, my friend. All right, that's it. Nobody else do I bend the knee for, including that Mustang that you ruined in your profile picture. All right, thing looked better stock out of the factory, Cody BK. Bend the knee, that's not me. Okay, that's not me. I bend the knee to nobody. Look at him. Look at him. He bent the knee to me. So, Cody BK, you called me out for bending the knee. I chirp at you, and you bend the knee in 12 seconds flat. 12 seconds flat, and you bend the knee? Come on, Cody. Come on, Cody. I appreciate you, though, brother. I appreciate it. Curtis checks in. What's up, Curtis? Hope you're doing well, my man. He says, Zander, there is a reason there aren't a lot of great slot cornerbacks because if they are great, they want to go to the outside and compete against great wide receivers. It's a great point. It's a great point. I agree with you 100%. All right. I think Cooper's going to be great outside. I'm surprised that more of you don't think Cooper would be good outside. I think Cooper will be excellent outside. When I look at Cooper DeJean, I just see an elite athlete. And I think he could do, and the best part about him is he's got the IQ. Like he's got the football intelligence on the field to be able to manage those positions. Now, again, I am projecting where Dominique Dabney is correct in the chat is we haven't seen it. Like Iowa is not the pros. We haven't seen him be a successful outside cornerback in the pros. So I do think that's fair. All right. Overreaction at practice. McKee looks better than Jalen. Nah, they're not going to use that one again. Ed Kratz used that one last year with Kenny Pickett, and he got in trouble. All right. No matter what the time, we hear no matter what. And appreciate you, Fredo. Yeah, were you here when we gave you a shout out, or I did earlier in the show today, Fredo? Because you brought up that comment yesterday. I think you sent a super chat yesterday, and you just said, "What if we moved Makuba to the slot, brought in Justin Simmons, and kicked Cooper to the outside?" And now Johnny Mack's out here saying there's another line of thinking if you move Makuba to the slot. Fredo, you are making an impact here on Birds 365. Well done, my friend. Well done, my friend. Rashid checking in. Rashid, thank you for all your support the last couple of days, brother. I appreciate you. Rashid says, yeah, I just think ever since Jalen passed 2 out of his 4 years, Zander, and then when they allowed him to be a volume passer last year, he did it. I think it was a lot of context behind last year. I agree, Rashid. My one question would be, if you go down the road of asking him to do it consistently on a week-in, week-out basis, what does the offense look like? You know, and you're right. Last year, they took the first 4 weeks and acted like they couldn't do it, but you were missing A.J. Brown. Even Devontae Smith missed one of those games. Lane Johnson missed one of those games. So it's not a perfect way to look at it, but, boy, they certainly never went back to it. Not until they needed to. Here we go. C24 is back in the building. This guy, I almost respect this guy's ability to make 44,000 accounts. Dude, you love me. You really love me. You C24, you know what? I love you too. Okay? I love you too. All right. From the bottom of my heart, I love you too. And I hope you get everything you need out of life. All right, my friend. I appreciate you for being here. I appreciate all the subscriptions from all the accounts you're making as well. I do. You don't bother me much. All right. He's got the Daz, I did a custom deal with Fathead. You guys remember Fatheads when you were a kid and you could get like your favorite athlete on the wall and like this full size photo of them? No, I never got a Fathead. But there is a Zander Krause custom Fathead. Apparently that's out there. Rumor has it it's at C24's crib. It's in the basement where he lives. All right. I appreciate him though. He shows up here every single day. More than shows up, he listens to all the shows. I mean, look, I just was talking about bending the knee, and then he made a new account and changed the name to Xander Bends the Knee. Like he listens to everything I say. I have real estate there. And I appreciate it. All right. I appreciate it. I appreciate him for being here, for supporting the show, for supporting the content. All right. Twiz says, terrible idea. Twiz, you got a lot of shitty takes, my friend. Twiz, for all the good you bring to JAKIB, boy, you are filled with some shit takes. But what is the terrible idea? I'll entertain you. What is the terrible idea, Twizzler? What is the terrible idea, Twizzler? All right. What is it? Come on. Bring it to me, Twiz. You got anything, Twiz? Other than some laughing emojis? Come on, Twizzler. Come on, Twizzler. Alfredo, this is my guy. I love Alfredo. Alfredo, you're my boy. I love the way Alfredo types. He tweets at me all the time, too. 2K say, going back to back. I think we can get AJ and Smitty 10 touches a game and still get Saquon 2K. 2,200 in the air, 2,200 on the ground. Holy moly. Alfredo's got this being the greatest offense to ever grace the NFL. Look at that. Alfredo, I love and respect that confidence in the football team. All right? I do. I respect it very much. Xander, you going to try the new Saquon steak and cheese? You mean cheesesteak? Come on, dog. Come on, dog. All right? I did think it was hilarious. Gino's put up this like graphic on top of Gino's of Saquon backwards hurdling a cheesesteak. I'm like, okay, now that is good marketing right there. Now, but I will say this as a Philadelphian or grew up, right outside the city, went to school in the city, obviously been around the city my entire life. Done multiple cheesesteak tours, have tried them all. Angelo's is the best. It's not hype and hoopla. Angelo's is the best cheesesteak. I thought Skinny Joe's was good too. I didn't think it was the best. But I do get a kick out of how like Geno's and Pat's become the face of cheesesteaks in Philly. Like if you come to Philly and you eat a Geno's or a Pat's, and I mean this with respect to them because I like that they're successful and I want Philadelphia companies to be successful, but you're not really getting a good cheesesteak. Like their steaks aren't that good. They're very mediocre. I would say lower. I would say bottom of the pack. So I kind of wish people who came to our city got to experience a different type of cheesesteak, but I don't really care that much. It's not that big of a deal. Cheesesteak, I guess. We call them steak and cheese. I don't care. Fredo, I don't care what you call them. This is Philly. They're cheesesteaks. Come on, man. Come on. Fredo 24. Come on, man. That cheesesteak looked fake too. Yeah, no, it's not the best. Jason says, it's my girl's B-day. I want to show her a real cheesesteak spot. I love Gina's, but I know it's not the best. Jason, first off, happy birthday to your girl. She's a lucky girl because you're a dope dude. All right. I appreciate you, Jason. I'd say Angelo's. I'd say D'Alessandro's is pretty good. The thing about D'Alessandro's is it used to be hyped as the number one. And I used to say it's not the number one. And now I think because of all the publicity they got, they actually improved their cheesesteak. Like if you go and get a D'Alessandro's now, it is fire. It is fire. I thought in years past, like 5 years ago, it was a little overhyped. Like I wondered if they paid for some of the publicity. Jim's Dunner. Jim's, when I was a kid, Jim's was my favorite. Not a kid. When I was in high school, Jim's was my favorite. I would end school on Fridays. I'd take get in the car, go down to South Street, go in gyms. Actually, I have a great story from gyms. So one time, me and all my boys I think I was like 18 at the time. All right. And we went to gyms late night after we were out, in Chinatown, out in the city all night, one night. All right. And I was always driving because I was always trying to make money. All right. So I wasn't the drinking type. I mean, I had my days of drinking, but I've never loved drinking like that. I was always more of a sober dude, but I was driving everybody. Right. So everybody gets in my car and like, we want gyms. Let's go to gyms. I'm like, all right, I'll go get a steak. So we go to gyms and we pull up the gyms. It's like 1 a.m, literally 1 a.m, probably, maybe even later. We pull up the gyms and I park the car and I'm like, all right, everybody, we got to be quick. Let's go. We go in, we order a steak. And if you've ever been to gyms, you know how quick they do it. They got all the meat, they got the cheese, they got the onions, they got boom, 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 boom. They make you a steak in, 25, 30 seconds. So I get my steak and I'm like, all right, I'm going to wait by the car. You drunkies, eat your steaks. I'll be waiting for you. I go out and in seconds, I'm talking like a minute, man. My car was loaded up on the tow truck and they were pulling it out of there. So it's 1 a.m. I'm with a bunch of drunkards and my car got towed to the lot down in Philly by the bridge. And if you've ever been to that lot, it is a nightmare lot. It's a nightmare, that lot. All right. So it's 1 a.m. We got no transportation. So I'm like, all right, you idiots can do whatever you want. I'm going to get my car. All right. I'm going to get my car. So I had to go back. I'm there till like 2:30 in the morning. The guy working at night just doesn't want to help me at all. My car, I got to the lot before my car even got to the lot. It was like $250. It was all the profit I made that night. I shelled it out, got my car back, and went home. It's like 4 a.m. by the time I got home. But that's a great story I have from gyms. Thing got towed right out of gyms. Right out of gyms. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And I swear to you, I was inside for less than 3 minutes. Less than 3 minutes. Sounds like a great time. It wasn't a great time, but I won't forget it for sure. All right. Abe, I literally walked out, and once they load the truck up, they're like, you can't say anything to a tow guy. Once that wheel is hooked, you can't say shit. I'm offering him $100. I'm offering him a cheesesteak. I offered him everything. He's like, dude, your car is gone. And he gets in and he drives it off. I'm like, man, fuck you. Man, F you. But it was all good. Good story. Good story. Fly Eagle says, I live in Kentucky now. Look at that. And people keep saying, go to this spot, go to that spot. They have cheesesteaks. I'm like, no, they don't. They just don't have the damn rolls here. It's so true. The bread in this part of the country is so good. It's so much better than everywhere else. It really is. You're right. It's actually not the steak and it's not the cheese. You can duplicate that if you have the right person. It's the bread. You can't duplicate the bread. All right. Yeah, fuck that tow truck driver. I didn't say that. I respected him doing it. Brian, sometimes you are such a cisspot. You need to go and get your blood work done or something. You got to check your numbers or something. Is everything all right over there, Ryan? Is everything all right? You're not taking estrogen, are you? You taking estrogen pills, Ryan? You ever seen that movie? What's that movie? What's that? Oh, The Longest Yard. Where they go into the guards' locker room and they change his testosterone, his steroids for estrogen pills. I love that part. That movie's hilarious, man. Yeah, Dro, that's what XS Ryan is, man. He's out here getting estrogen pills. Come on, man. Come on, man. Philly's best in California has the bread flown out from Philly. That sounds like a good spot. Curtis, that's good, man. That's dope. What the F is a cisspot? James Jones, one day you'll learn, brother. One day you'll learn. All right, we're out of here. We got no football conversation. OTAs today. Johnny Mack down there. I'm curious to see what he learns, if anything. He tends to be a Debbie Downer when it comes to wanting to talk about what he saw. I don't know why. It's like all we get in the offseason. We should embrace it. But we'll talk to him tomorrow on Birds 365. I appreciate all you guys for being here. Let me make sure I got all the super chats. I did. I appreciate all you guys. Hit the like button for me. All right, lock in tomorrow. I'll be right back live 8 a.m. here on Birds 365. Appreciate all the support that you guys give. I tell you this all the time, but we are in June, man. Like, numbers are tight in June. Budgets are tight. Everything is tight. So any support, any super chats, any memberships that come in, they go a long way at helping us this time of the year, especially. So we appreciate all of you guys who do it. Rashid Mixon, man, I think you had 4 or 5 super chats today. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Jason A-Team, you've been contributing like crazy. Thank you, brother. I appreciate all of you guys. All right. I appreciate each and every one of you for the support. Hit that like button, and I'll see you next time on Birds 365.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.